Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the millions watching at home, okay, maybe thousands, well, whoever's watching, let me introduce you to the best stretch in the world! Hey guys, Avi here. In today's video, I'm going to be demonstrating the hip flexor stretch, or as you may have heard in the introduction, sorry about that, the greatest stretch in the world. Number one, modern day lifestyle means that we are sitting for far longer than we did in previous generations. As a result, this area here gets quite tightened and shortened. And number two is that the hip flexor attaches onto the pelvis, the femur and the spine. So when these areas are locked up, it affects the hip, the back as well as the leg, or it can affect it. This is the position, the kneeling position in which the stretch is performed. If you're unable to get into this position due to hip or knee issues, then stick around to the end of the video where I'll show you an easier variation. The reason why I'm shooting this video side on is so you see the most important component in facilitating maximal hip flexor stretch, and that's the posterior pelvic tilt, or losing the arch in your lower back, or sinking your pelvis or your bottom towards the floor. So you drop your pelvis together makes the pelvis. You drop your pelvis downwards and then lean forward, and immediately you're going to feel a stretch on the hip flexor. Now in this position, I'm going to demonstrate two variations, and they both get different points of stretch. The first variation is, well, I squeeze my glutes, so that opens up the hip even more. I get my arm up and I lean over and across. And as you can see, I'm doing this near a wall because you can be a bit off balance with the stretch. Now that variation opens up the hip flexor with the lower back fascia. The second component, or the second variation, targets the hip flexor and the quadricep fascia, and that's you grab the back leg leaning forward and you pull that heel towards the bums, and you'll feel a magnificent stretch on your hip flexor area. Now here's your variation of your hip flexor stretch, specifically if you can't put pressure on your knees. You can find a bench or a chair. I'm using the bed in my practice. I'm placing my back leg on the bed, and you get into posteriorly tilted pelvis and you leaning forward, and I can feel a stretch on my hip flexor area. And to create the variation, my arm goes up and over. So it's exactly the same rules that applied to the earlier stretch, just now you're doing it with your legs supported on a bench or a chair. Guys, I hope you found this video useful. Please share it with anyone who you feel needs this stretch, and that's basically everyone in the world. In the meantime, guys, I hope you all stay safe and stay strong.